for that area. Now, when we often talk about severe weather, you often hear things like large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes being the larger of the threats. Everyone tends to focus on tornadoes, as you often should, because that can often cause the most damage. But you can't rule out severe winds, especially the straight line winds. Now, the setup for this is you get that dry air aloft coming into those thunderstorms. The rain evaporates into that dry air and it cools it as it does that. That cold air, because it is heavier, begins to sink back down toward the ground. When it does, it can often pick up speed and momentum. That enhances how strong that wind can be. And since it's all going in the same direction, it can have quite an intense force, taking down trees, power lines, a lot of those such things, not to mention perhaps some structural damage that goes along with it. Right? So many folks this time of year, you start to get the itchy, watery eyes, the runny nose, the scratchy or hoarse voice like I often have. You kind of need to watch where the peak allergens are going to be. Right now, really, tree pollen has been the big thing out there, especially the last 2 weeks. It's really kind of peaked around Dallas into Jackson, Mississippi, and over towards Atlanta. But now we're starting to notice that trend moving a little bit farther north. Grass pollen as well, really starting to see that trend push north. And then after that, we'll start heading into... Welcome back. About 42 past the hour. We are taking a look at a pretty big threat for portions of Florida. We're talking about rip currents. Lots of spring breakers out there and beachgoers. But along the Atlantic side, we have a moderate and also a high risk for rip currents into the area. Now, again, lots of folks want to get out there, but it's also California. We're also talking the other side of the country. A lot of spring breakers out there as well. Now, up around Santa Barbara and just north of Los Angeles, you also have a high rip current risk there as well. But even on the southern side, as you start getting down towards Laguna Beach and into San Diego, you're talking a moderate rip current risk. And it is that time of year where millions of people will start to head to the beach. But the water can turn deadly. The Brainstorm team shows us why rip currents are responsible for the majority of beach rescues. So again, we talk about the rip current forecast that is going to be there. We talked about today, but also the potential for tomorrow. Now we're looking at the forecast for Miami. It is going to be very nice. Again, perfect beach weather. Your temperatures are going to be in the 80s, lots of sunshine. Same thing a little bit further north into Vero Beach. Again, we're looking at those temperatures to be in the upper 70s. Don't forget the sunscreen, though. Even if you do have some clouds, that sun can still get through them and still give you a little bit of a burn. Daytona Beach, Florida, we're looking at temperatures into the mid to upper 70s. But again, these forecasts being as great as they are with dry conditions expected, that means a lot of folks are going to be headed out to the beach. And with that, we do want to let you know the moderate risk really up again towards like the Jacksonville area, down towards Vero Beach. But then as you go a little bit further south, you start to have a higher risk there. Also into California, a lot of spring breakers out there as well. Long Beach going to be nice. We're talking temperatures in the low 70s. You still are going to have that burn time, so wear that sunscreen. We do start to develop a little bit more cloud cover as we go a little bit further north. So around Baker Beach, again, you've got the temperature right around the low 60s. Maybe not warm enough to get in the water per se, but you will be at least maybe say out at the beach trying to enjoy some of the nice weather. Seaside Oregon, again, temperatures looking to be into the upper 50s, not necessarily the nice balmy weather you'd be looking for, but enough maybe perhaps to get you to the beach. And once you're there, again, try to stay out of the water. We're looking at that high rip current risk again up around Santa Barbara, down towards Los Angeles. But as you go a little bit further south, the moderate risk still remains for areas around San Diego, also into Laguna Beach. So both of those risks are going to be there for both California and also as we head into areas of Florida. So just keep that in mind as you plan on heading out to the beach. A little bit further north, probably not as much of a risk because the weather is not really going to be conducive to maybe wanting to get out, especially say in and around Seattle, stretching down towards the Portland, Oregon area, where we do expect to have at least some showers into the forecast. Well, we'll talk about all the severe threats coming up in just a few minutes.
Back to you.
All right, so you think of April, you don't necessarily think of snow, but for some, this is still the time when snow is very much a possibility. So here is a map. You're taking a look at the areas where their last measurable snowfall takes place in terms of time of the year. When you look at the green shade down towards the south, we're talking cities like Atlanta, Nashville, Oklahoma City, for example. We're really talking around February at best. But once you start getting further north, you really have the ability to get some of these, like this pink shaded area, April 22nd, all the way up to May 5th. Some areas even extending well past that. So again, still very much a possibility for some of these areas in the coming weeks. Now, we talk about where, what does the actual forecast take? So here's a look at the GFS model. This is the American model looking at the next 7 days. Really, the best chance that we have is going to be out into the west, where we've got those series of waves that are going to be coming in, bringing in some moisture along with it. Still the potential for some areas of the northern plains and also into the Midwest. Now, as you go to the Euro kind of backs off a little bit more than the GFS does, but there's still bullseye point is still going to be out towards areas of the Northwest where we have the best chance for some snow. We're also going to talk severe weather potential coming